Raj, this is a question and answer session. They have written their question. And the very first question deals with the story that you told this morning. Can you all hear me? In the back? Kind of? Alright, I'll speak a little out loud. So the first question that was here, that's here in this assemblance of sages on Mother's Day 2018, His Holiness Radhanath Swami, is, you mentioned earlier today that you broke your mother's heart. It's a two-part question. The first question says, how did you reconcile this, considering ahimsa, the principle of ahimsa? And the second part is, how did it affect you karma-wise?
That's a good question.
We are so happy that Radhanath's mother is with us today. She comes because she loves you and she's so proud of you. My answer is we all have to live and learn. But I was on a spiritual quest, seeing so much hate, greed, suffering, in the name of nationalism, in the name of religion, in the name of one's ethnic race. That it was impossible for me to think that I could ever have a meaningful or content life just being a part of that. Because when you're a teenager, you're sometimes idealistic. And I was like that. So I was part of the civil rights movement, part of the counterculture. But I could see that none of those things could really be effective unless we change our own hearts. And I saw it in the various places of civil rights, the leaders were always deeply spiritual people with a religious faith. And there was a calling to understand what is that spiritual call that so many people through the ages were willing to give their lives to pursue. In my readings, the saints of so many traditions, they followed their calling. I had no intention of ever being a saint, but I knew that spiritual life means to follow the path that saints have left behind them. So really, I never wanted to cause pain. I didn't have the maturity at the time to express my gratitude or appreciation for my parents, because I didn't even understand it myself. But I didn't want to hurt them. But this calling for spiritual connection, enlightenment, little by little consumed me. I couldn't be true to myself. I couldn't be true to anyone unless I found myself. So I knew I was causing them heartbreak. But I had a very simple faith that if God is pleased, He will restore everything and make everything better. I always believed that. It was later that I understood what ahimsa was. But ahimsa is also, it's a spiritual principle. When we're in spiritual darkness, then we're causing violence to our own self. And unless we can give spiritual light to others, we're not really truly ahimsa. You see, ahimsa is not a negative thing. It's not just, I don't cause others suffering, I don't hurt others. Actual ahimsa is something very profoundly positive. It doesn't mean I don't give darkness, it means I give light. It doesn't just mean I'm not cruel, it means I'm compassionate, I'm caring. Doesn't mean I don't cause others pain. It means I give people happiness and pleasure. Physically, emotionally, and also spiritually. That's the more inclusive understanding of ahimsa. As far as my karma, I guess that's why I ended up like this. But the happiness I gave to my father. Today he's 94 years old. And many of his very, very best friends are devotees of Krishna. My beloved godbrother Shyam Sundar, who was Srila Prabhupada's personal secretary for about 5 years. He helped to start the second temple of ISKCON in Haight-Ashbury in San Francisco in the summer of love of 1967. Who helped to establish the first temple in London, who helped to establish so many projects in India, who traveled with Prabhupada all over the world. Later on, he lived somewhere here in Manhattan. He was a very adventurous person. I think he lived on 7th Avenue. He had an apartment on the 5th floor with 2 pet, full-grown lions. And he shared a building with so many people. When they'd roar, nobody knew they were lions. Watching television or something. But that's a long story. today. My father's very best friend is Shyam Sundar.
Oh.
Shyam Sundar lived with George Harrison and Betty Boyd for about a year in their house, giving them Krishna. He lived with John Lennon. He was a very adventurous person, very wise person. And to this day, about once every week or two, they speak on the phone for over an hour. And all they do is laugh. My father tells me he's my best friend. All my other friends are so old. They just talk about who died and who's dying and how they're dying and the different surgeries they just had. And Shyam Sundar talks about Krishna. So many interesting subjects. So my mother and father, the joy of their life was devotees. So they transformed in so many ways. And I believe they will both say that the amount of pain they endured, it's kind of like giving birth. A mother, she has to go through pain. But if the child comes out nice, she's happy she did it. At least, I'm a Swami, I don't know so much, but so that's kind of the way they see it all. I don't know if that answers your question, but that's all I'm going to say.
Gita verse. Abandon all religion and worship me alone. Radhanath Swami, can you speak on this? Is bhakti independent of/from religion?
Yes and no. It depends on your definition of religion. In Sanskrit, there is a word, Sanatan Dharma, which is sometimes translated as religion. It means the path that awakens our original nature. Dharma means what is inseparable from our nature. The dharma of a chili pepper is it is hot. The dharma of sugar is it is sweet. The dharma of water, it's liquid. If you put it in a freezer, it's in an unnatural state, it becomes solid. But as soon as you take it out of the freezer, naturally it melts, it goes back to its nature. So the nature of every living being is we serve. When we're working, we're either serving our employer or serving our employees or serving our customers. When we're hungry, we're serving our stomach and our tongue. When we're in need of love, we're serving our hearts. Whether we like it or not, we have to serve the government. If we don't, we serve them in prison. But we always have to serve. The parents serve the children. The children, if they're supposed to serve their parents, if not, they're serving something, someone. But Sanatana Dharma means the origin of that propensity is that our nature is to serve God with love. Religion comes from the Latin word religio, which means to bind one back. Yoga, Sanskrit word, means to reconnect. There's no difference. In its true form, religion and yoga have identical meanings. Religion is not a sectarian concept. Our Guru Dev Srila Prabhupada, he would say religious faith is, we could be a Christian or a Jew or a Muslim or a Jain or a Parsi or a Sikh or a Hindu or a Buddhist, or we could be an agnostic or we could be an atheist. We could change any of those. People get converted, people lose their faith, people get their faith. So religious faith could be changed, but Sanatana Dharma is unchangeable. It's the nature, it's Jaiva Dharma, it's the nature of the soul. Satchidananda, to realize we are eternal, we are full of knowledge, and we are full of happiness, and that happiness is Ananda, is in feeling the limitless, infinite love of God, who has many names. Krishna means he's all attractive because he's the supreme lover and the supreme object of love. To awaken that love and to serve as an expression of that love is the unchangeable nature of every soul. And every great religious faith, in its truth, is meant to awaken that love. No true religion is sectarian. There's universal principles. When Krishna tells in Bhagavad Gita, Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayi masaj. The verse referred to. Krishna is speaking about this principle. Abandon all these dividing, sectarian, external concepts of religion, whatever it is, and go to. It doesn't mean you should give up your religion. It means go to the heart of it. Seek the essence of it. And that essence is surrender, sharanagati, to take shelter of the Lord with all humility, devotion, to give our life to be an instrument of the will of the Lord. That's the purport of this verse. Humbling me because there's more applause before the question than after the answer.
Radhanath Swami, how to serve from a raw heart that isn't as open and is protected? My nervous system feels sensitive, and the ability to allow divinity to flow through is not as smooth a process. I feel as though it's hampering my ability to hold space for my community and my students.
Feeling the heart is in some ways similar to healing the ailments of the body. If we have some rash in our body, and it really itches, and it really causes pain, and it seems to be spreading and infecting other people, then one thing you're not supposed to do is scratch it. Because when you scratch it, it kind of feels better for a few seconds, but then it's worse, and it's worse, and it's worse. The more we can put it in an atmosphere where it can heal, with time it heals. So, 2 things for that rash. You don't scratch it, and you put some medication, whatever it may be, aloe vera or something like that. You put something healing on it, and you don't aggravate it. And then in time it heals. And the heart is like that too. You know, our heart is raw and anxiety because of certain circumstances, and sometimes because of choices that we've made in our life, and choices other people have made toward us. And just basic destiny and circumstances. But if we accept what is favorable for the healing of the heart, and avoid that which is unfavorable toward the healing of the heart, then the heart heals. It naturally heals. What is unfavorable is egoistic, selfish, immoral activities that cause pain to others, or even cause pain to ourselves. Certain types of addictions and everything, they just further pain to ourselves, our loved ones, and others. But we can't just not do things. Positive alternatives are required. We associate with people who uplift us. This is called satsang. The positive things, there's 4 nice formulas. Satsang, sadhana, sadachar, and seva. We replace the negative habits, tendencies with these things. Satsang, to be with uplifting, enlightening people, especially Radhanath. Now that I have the microphone. Of course, I was sitting back there and my voice is pretty old, but he doesn't need a microphone. We see how just being in Radhanath Prabhu's company, Kaustubha Prabhu's company, Janani Devi's company, Virbhadra Ram and Gyan and Jaigiridhari, these people, they're just so Janeshwari, especially Rukmini Devi. They uplift us by the way they speak, by the way they care, by the values that they integrate into everything they do in their life. Essentially by their love for God, by their love for Krishna. The real testimony of love for God is not how many verses you know, or how many people you can defeat through argument, or how many votes and followers you have. The real testimony is how deeply compassionate you are, how much peace and love you find within yourself that you want to share with the world. That's religion. So when we're with such people, having kirtan, nourishing our intelligence and our minds and our hearts with illuminating subject matters. Just talking together as we're eating spiritual food. Satsang is foundational to this healing of the heart. And sadhana is when we have faith that there is something beautiful that I can pursue in my life spiritually. That faith is nourished by the people we're with, by community. Then we're willing to put some time aside for our own personal spiritual healing. Sadhana. Meditation, prayer, especially this japa, chanting God's names, kirtans, study, puja. This is all sadhana. It's a time when we put special part of the day aside just to be with God, just to take this journey within. We get purified, we get healed, we get focused and centered in our sadhana. Yoga means sadhana in its true sense. To reconnect. And then with our satsang and our sadhana, we integrate these qualities in our life. Sadacha means character, to live with character. We may be software engineers, we may be teachers, doctors, lawyers, housewives. We may sell carpets. We integrate everything. Last night was one of the most beautiful celebrations. I was just floating in the spiritual world while I was sitting. Joe and Devjit, and they have a beautiful carpet factory, carpet showroom. Sure. And somehow they opened it up for wonderful kirtan and prasad. It's an example for everyone. Whatever we have, whatever we know how to do, we want to share it. Whatever God has given us, share it to uplift others. It was just beautiful. We may be housewives. We may work on Wall Street. We may be a government employee. We may even be swamis. Whatever we do it with character. And seva, the very culmination of it all, is we want to serve. We want to be an instrument to uplift others. And by just living with these principles, satsang, sadhana, sadachar, seva, it heals the heart. And part of that character is we don't hurt others. We don't lie. We don't cheat. We don't exploit. Then Krishna tells in Bhagavad Gita in the 11th chapter, time I am. And it's just a matter of time till the raw heart becomes very, very happy heart. Apuryamanam achala pratishtam. Krishna culminates the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita that if the happiness of your heart is the quantity of a little puddle, that anything that comes in through the mind or the senses is going to very much disrupt it because it's so shallow. But if the happiness of the heart is as deep as an ocean, even if rivers flow in with millions of gallons a second, or during the summer season, even if the rivers are dried up and nothing's coming in, the ocean isn't affected. So when we have deep inner peace, deep inner satisfaction, and we deal with the world, but we're not seeking to find something outside. We're seeking to give what we have inside through whatever we do. That's true happiness. That's true peace. But when it's shallow, then we're just affected by everything. And true spirituality is to go deeper and deeper and deeper into the peace, into the happiness, into the love that's there. And all that's required is our heart heals. But that healing is usually, in spiritual terms, known as purification. When water's pure, but when you put dirt in it, the dirt isn't the water and the water isn't the dirt. There's just dirt in water. But you can't, they're so merged together, you can't see the difference. It's just muddy water. You filter the water, you purify it of the dirt, and then the water, it's in its original, natural, transparent state. That's how we can heal our hearts. I'm a little encouraged now.
Radhanath Swami, I've heard several teachers mention how we should distance ourselves from people that are bad influences in our lives. However, doesn't that go against the principle that we are all God's children, all pure on the inside? Everyone has good and bad qualities. We are all on the same path. Isn't a more loving approach to accept these bad friends as teachers that are here to show us the areas we still need to work on within ourselves?
Intelligence is important to make any progress in our lives. If you're a parent and your children have a choice to associate with hardcore drug addicts or with New York Yankee fans, or with people who love God, I think you won't say it doesn't matter. They're all God's children. Physician, heal thyself. If we're concerned with our children, we also have to be concerned, if we want to give something good to our children, we have to be concerned with ourselves. Because it's a law of nature that we're affected by who and what we associate with. Srila Prabhupada gave this simple analogy: if you put an iron rod in a blazing fire, it becomes red and hot like fire. And if you say, no, it's still an iron rod, then please touch it. It burns as much as if you put your finger directly in the fire because of its association with fire. If you put in the same iron rod for a duration of time in ice, it will get as cold as ice. That's everyone's nature. We become affected by what we associate with. If we associate with hateful racists, they will probably become hateful toward other people. If we associate with loving people who are really trying to see the essence in everyone, we're going to experience that too. So it's not a matter of discriminating against people. It's a matter of being intelligent that if I want to make progress, I have to choose what will help me make progress. And choose those people that will bring me up rather than down. Today you all came to Bhakti Center. And we're very, very grateful. But there may have been friends who wanted to bring you to a bar to get drunk. There's many more of those in the Lower East Side than Bhakti Center. So you may give respect and kindness to the person who you know who's going to the bar. You don't have to say you're going to hell forever. I don't believe in going to bars. I'm not going to go to the bar. I'm going to the Bhakti Center. There's going to be a difference in your own state of consciousness and your own karmic destiny according to the choice of who. It doesn't mean you hate the person. We may dislike what people do, but we understand the spiritual essence within people. But if we want to be elevated enough to actually help others, we have to be strong ourselves. And we have to make right choices. There's a saying, one of my dear friends quoted this saying in French to me. I think it's a French saying, but I don't speak French. So I'll give you the translation. You've all heard it. Show me who you associate with and I will tell you who you are. We associate with truly spiritual people, we're not going to hate others. You know, you could go to work and love your fellow, what do you call them? Co-workers. Sorry, I haven't had a job. I haven't had a job since 1969. It's 49 years or something. But, so if your coworker is, what do they call those, Big Macs? If he's eating like McDonald's, meat, you don't hate that person. You just eat some nice vegetables. Maybe a veggie burger or something. So we don't hate people, but we want to do what's best for us. We want to be elevated. And in this way, intelligence is important. In connection to this question, I'm going to continue the incredible, wonderful, devotionally surcharged story that Radhanath Prabhu told us. But I can't do it like Radhanath. Radhanath has so much soul in everything he says. Vibhishan. Everyone remembers the story of Vibhishan, Ravana's brother, who loved his brother. There was no one that loved Ravana more than Vibhishan. Ravana's son Indrajit, he was flattering, he was defending his father in so many ways. But it wasn't really love. It wasn't coming from the heart or soul. Because his love was so much mixed up with inheriting the supreme power of his father, sustaining the supreme wealth of his, not supreme, but the enormous wealth of his father. It was so mixed up with selfishness and arrogance. So Indrajit was saying, Father, I know you, I love you, you could conquer anyone. But what's the use of telling somebody that when they're going to be killed by doing it? Is that love? But Vibhishan, he really cared. He told Ravana exactly what Ravana did not want to hear. Ram is better than you. Ram happens to be God. And you don't happen to be God. And you happen to be God. And if you please Ram, you will have everything. You will have your whole kingdom. You'll have all your citizens. You'll have Ram as your friend. But you've stolen Sita's wife and you want to exploit her totally. This is going to be the cause of your destruction. So here's intelligence. He didn't hate Ravana, but he was telling him the truth. He was trying. He had the inner strength. He had the inner grace to be honest and represent true goodness and well-being for his brother. But his brother rejected him. Actually, Vibhishan could have left Ravana for years before, because he was always a very saintly person, Vibhishan, and Ravana was always, he was a terrorist, he was a criminal, he was horrible. Vibhishan was always trying to help him. He's my brother, I have to try to help him. But it came to the point. Radhanath is the name of Ram. So Radhanath is an authority on Ram. It came to the point where there was absolutely nothing left he could do to help his brother. He was rejected. His brother kicked him away. Get out of this kingdom. You're gone. Ravana took his home, his family, everything away from Vibhishan and exiled him. Vibhishan considered it an opportunity. And he went home. And he was, as Radhanath was saying, he was totally misunderstood. Not only by his brother and his brother's whole family and all his military and ministers, they all hated Vibhishan when he tried to stand up and give the truth to his brother. But when he came to Ram's side, everyone rejected him. How can we trust a person like this? And they told Ram he should either be killed or imprisoned, or at least he should be just driven away. But we can never trust him. They went on and on and on. There's pages in Ramayana of how they were blasting against Vibhishan. We must reject him. And Ram asked Hanuman, what is your opinion? He said, I'm looking at his face, and I see he's a good person. We should trust him and accept him as our own family. And Sugriva and all the other, these are the generals who were even in superior roles than Hanuman. They couldn't tolerate what Hanuman just said. And they were saying it with devotion, with protection. What did you say? Ram, don't listen to Hanuman. We cannot trust this person. He's Ravana's brother. They may have had a fight, but blood is very thick. When it really comes down to it, he's going to side with his brother. And if we let him on our side, he can destroy us. And then that beautiful quote that Radhanath cited today. This quotation, saints, acharyas, yogis have been quoting this verse as one of the most important of all verses for tens and thousands of years. Lord Chaitanya would cite this verse. Should I say it again?
Yes.
After all the arguments, Hanuman spoke his little piece, and then everybody else was arguing against it, debating. He must be rejected, must be killed, must be imprisoned. Ram said, if anyone, even once, with a sincere and honest heart, comes to me and says, my Lord, I am yours, I will give that person protection for the rest of eternity. And then he said, please listen, all of you, in your presence, I'm making this vow. If anyone, even the most sinful person, even if Ravana, my enemy who stole my wife, if he with a sincere heart seeks shelter, I will give him protection forever. Bring Vibhishan. And everyone accepted. Vibhishan came. Vibhishan knew everything. He was really, as far as when the war happened, he knew everyone's strengths and weaknesses. When Kumbhakarna appeared, he was so gigantic. Ravana's other brother. Ram and everybody were looking. He was enormous. They said, what is this? Vibhishan said, it's my brother. My other brother. And he gave all the histories. And in the culmination of the battle, Ravana was so infuriated with Vibhishan for taking the side of Ram. With all his might and power, he was personally trying to kill Vibhishan. He was throwing mystically empowered javelins and arrows and shaktis and so many things at him. And sometimes they were actually beyond Vibhishan's power to resist. Ram or Hanuman or somebody had to protect him. Because Ravana was obsessed with killing his brother. And when Ram was trying to finally end the battle when he was fighting against Ravana, he couldn't do it because he was a yogi, as Radhanath was saying. He was such a yogi that if you cut off his head, it grows back. If you cut off his arms or legs, they grow back. That's quite an asana. And Ram, you take an arrow. and would sever Ravana's head. In the next moment, an identical head grew back. I'm not going to do it anymore.
One more time.
How do you defeat somebody like this? Even Ram knows everything, but still he's playing the part of a human in the sense that what do I do? Nobody knew what to do except Vibhishan. Vibhishan said because of his tapasya and his yogic austerities, he gained a supernatural power where he has a certain yogic nectar in his heart. You have to put an arrow there that will dry up the nectar, and then he'll just be like a normal person. So the Vibhishan was very useful. And then Ram, he did it. After Ravana was killed, Hanuman and all the monkeys were dancing and celebrating. Believe it or not, this was ahimsa. I know some of my very, very best friends. Did any of you ever read a book called The Journey Home? There was a friend named Gary, and his father was in World War II. He's from Jewish descent from Russia, immigrants. And they were fighting. And he was one of the main soldiers that liberated one of the concentration camps. And these prisoners in the concentration camps were piles of dead bodies that they just didn't have time to burn. And whoever was alive was totally emaciated, starving, diseased. They were coming and kissing the boots of the soldiers that came, crawling up to them and kissing their boots because they came to liberate them. He understood why he fought that war. It wasn't violence. It was to protect innocent from violence. Not all wars are like that. But when Ravana, when his regime of terrorism was finished, they were happy. And then Ram turned to Vibhishan and said, you should perform the last rites for the liberation of your brother, Radhanath. And Vibhishan, he said, personally, all the abuses and that my brother did to me was tolerable. The abuses he did to Sita were intolerable. The abuses he did to trying to kill you in every way is intolerable. How could I do the last rites for somebody who has done that? Ram said, he's your brother. You must forgive him. Together, we will give him the highest liberation. And Vibhishan performed the last rites, and Radhanath's soul was eternally liberated. That's Vivisha. You see, even though he disagreed with his brother, and even had to leave the company of his brother, and even while living, he remained devotional. He never compromised what his brother was doing. In the end, he was his brother's best friend. So you see, if we just act like everyone else, how can we help them? If they're engaged in so many distracted activities. Well, we could love them, we could care for them, but if we have spiritual strength, if we have spiritual direction, if we have spiritual community, then we can actually show the highest love for them because we have it. I'm sorry if I got a little militaristic in my narration, but that's part of the story. Would you like to add anything, Radhanath?
You say it's perfectly complete.
It's because I was repeating you. This is where the joy of relationship is. When you're competing to give credit to the other. Is there time for more?
I think this might be the last one.
Should we have short kirtan instead?
Haribol.
Would you rather do another one of these questions or have short kirtan? We can do both.
Last question. Radhanath Swami. How do we know Krishna's will in our life? In the beginning, in the big things and the smaller ones, how do we avoid making a wrong turn? Yes, we will all get to our destination, His plan for us, but how do we get there? By the most direct route.
Kirtan.